Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are cracking open the financial toolkit for decision makers. We're going to take a highly structured look at the essential methods you need to evaluate the profitability of a single project. Look, whether you're an engineer planning a massive infrastructure build or a manager trying to figure out if a new product line is actually viable, getting a firm grip on the financial health of that project is absolutely critical. Okay, let's quickly check out our roadmap for today. We'll be moving logically through this, starting with defining project profitability, going into cost estimation, exploring the present worth method, looking at capital recovery, tackling infinite horizons, and wrapping up with the payback period. All right, section 1, defining project profitability. So, before we even think about diving into complex formulas, we first need to establish our baseline. Like, what actually makes an investment worthwhile in the real world? To put this into perspective, let me throw a pretty wild number at you. $15,384,576. That is literally what a relatively tiny $1,650 investment in 100 shares of Walmart back in 1970 would have grown to by September of 2014. No way, right? It's the kind of number that makes your jaw drop. But here's the thing. When you map out that massive, decades-long return, it essentially equates to an annual rate of return of about 23.09%. And that number, it isn't just a fun piece of trivia. It leads us straight to a fundamental golden rule of investing.
Which brings us to MAR, your minimum attractive rate of return. Think of it like this. If you could easily, safely earn 6% interest in some other standard investment, well, that 6% becomes your baseline. It's your MAR. And because Walmart's 23% return absolutely demolished that 6% baseline, it was undeniably a fantastic project. Bottom line, your project's rate of return always has to beat your MAR.
Moving right along to section 2, the rules of cost estimation. Because let's be honest, before calculating any returns, we absolutely have to know what a project is going to cost. You can't evaluate an investment if the underlying numbers are just pure guesswork. Getting those costs right requires some serious structure. You have to systematically recognize the problem, develop your alternatives, and pinpoint those cash flows. Following these core steps of engineering economic analysis ensures we don't miss a thing, capturing every single direct cost, labor hour, and overhead expense. Now, when you're estimating those costs, kind of like how Apple had to figure out that the iPhone X component cost was around $412 before selling it for $999, you generally choose between two techniques. You've got a broad, historical, top-down view, which is awesome when you're still refining your alternatives, or you go bottom-up, breaking the project into tiny, detailed units, which is exactly what you want when the product is fully fleshed out. But here is a massive trap that trips up so many decision makers: sunk costs. Listen, if your company blew $2 million on a prototype that ended up failing safety tests, it should absolutely not dictate your economic decisions for a new design. You have to completely ignore it. That money is gone. We evaluate the future, not the past. Okay, section 3, the present worth method. So once we have our estimated costs and projected revenues mapped out, we can apply our first and honestly most popular evaluation tool. It's all about the time value of money. Basically, we discount all those future cash inflows and outflows back to the present day using that MAR interest rate we talked about earlier. We're translating future money into its equivalent value today. And if that equivalent net surplus today is greater than zero, boom, your project is acceptable. To put that into practice, think about a scenario like the Tiger Machine Tool Company. Accepting their project just comes down to computing if their future revenues generate a positive net surplus today. They've got an initial outflow of $75,000 in year 0, but they have decent inflows over the next 3 years. So we simply discount those future inflows back to year 0, subtract the initial cost, and if we end up with a positive number, we greenlight the project. Next up, section 4, annual worth and capital recovery. Now, present worth is great, but sometimes translating everything to today's dollars isn't the most practical way to budget. A lot of the time, we need to understand our costs on an annualized basis. Enter capital recovery. This is essentially the annual equivalent cost of your invested capital. It lets us smoothly distribute that initial heavy price tag and whatever salvage value is left at the end across the entire life of the asset. It bakes in both the loss in value and the interest on your capital, giving you one clean, consistent annual expense to track. All right, let's get a bit extreme in section 5, evaluating infinite project horizons. So what on earth happens when your project is designed to literally last forever? And I know that sounds like a hypothetical math puzzle, but it's not. This is the exact, very real problem civil engineers face with massive public infrastructure. Things like perpetual bridge projects, dams, or highways that will demand maintenance indefinitely. Take a perpetual bridge, for example. Say it has a $2 million construction cost, 50 grand in annual maintenance, and needs a $500,000 renovation every 15 years. We obviously can't just add up infinite costs. We'd get infinity. We have to somehow translate these never-ending fees into a single workable framework using our interest rate, let's say 5%. And this is where we use a brilliant tool called capitalized worth. The beauty of capitalized worth is that for infinite periods, the complex math actually simplifies drastically. It basically approaches the annual payment divided by the interest rate. It's an elegant little calculation that lets us find the present worth of perpetual maintenance, literally bringing infinity down to a single number we can actually use today. Finally, Section 6, calculating the payback period. This last tool is super practical. It just answers one question: how long is it going to take to get my money back? By tracking the cumulative cash flow year over year, we find the payback period. Say we start 42 grand in the hole. We chip away at it year by year. Finally, we cross over from a negative $9,000 balance in year 3 into a positive $1,000 surplus right at year 4. That exact crossover point, that's your simple payback period. It is an incredibly useful, quick metric for evaluating how risky or liquid an investment really is. Wow, we have unpacked a ton of crucial financial methodology today. From establishing your baseline MAR, to the present worth method, to wrangling infinite costs with capitalized worth. So with all these methods now firmly in your toolkit, here is my final question for you. Which evaluation strategy are you going to rely on most to make sure your next big project beats the baseline? Think about it. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.